Have you ever dreamed of taking the leap into entrepreneurship, but found yourself hesitating at the edge, not knowing where to begin? Are you curious about the realities of starting a business from scratch and the journey that it entails? Well, you're in luck, because today's episode was designed with you in mind. Hey there, dreamers and doers. Welcome back to the Founder's Journey. I'm your host, Jonathan Killam. In this episode, I'm thrilled to be joined by Sarah, not just my business partner, but also my fiancé. Together, we're here to shed light on the path of entrepreneurship and share our firsthand experiences on building a business from the ground up. Sarah brings her own perspective to the table as we chat about our cleaning company, what worked, what didn't, and the lessons that we learned along the way. One of the cool things that we talk about during this episode is that Sarah actually has a passion for interior design. You'll get to watch in real time as our gears churn and we figure out a way to implement this into our future plans. Lastly, we briefly touch on the market conditions as it pertains to the fix and flip industry. So if you're curious about entrepreneurship or looking for some inspiration, this episode has what you need. Listen up. If you're getting value from what you're hearing, there's only one thing to do. Take action. Hit the like button and subscribe, because that's how we know we're hitting the mark. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss out on what we have coming next. So don't wait around. Smash those buttons and let's keep the momentum going. You won't regret it. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, my love. Welcome to the show. I appreciate you joining me.
Thank you for having me.
For everyone who doesn't know, this is my fiancée, Sarah. Sarah is the co-founder of Luxurious Cleaning Services, which is the company that we own together. And she's here to talk about her story and her journey. And we're going to have a little bit of back and forth about how we're doing in our cleaning company and what our journey is going to look like later down the road, what the plans are that we have. So, Sarah, if you could let everyone know a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into this.
So, mom, fiance, cancer survivor, lived in the W-2 world for 34 years and no longer wanted to be there. So when I met Jonathan, he kind of instilled in me a little bit more of that entrepreneurial mindset, which I had always had. I just didn't know how to obtain it.
What basically kicked off your journey into business ownership?
Whole lot of things. It all started with COVID and cancer. I was working as a sexual assault investigator, as you know, at a college in New Hampshire. And COVID came around. I was then that same month diagnosed with breast cancer. And my work essentially told me, you're too much of a health risk. You need to work from home. No longer doing my job. And we were on vacation in Maine and was on Facebook of all places and saw a individual looking for a cleaning company and decided that that was going to be our into small business ownership.
And there were some things around that was surrounding it is why we kind of came to that decision, right? So, like, what was that? Because it had a lot to do with what was already going on, right?
So you're talking about the sterilization of properties, decontamination, all that?
So basically what I was getting at is I have a passion for real estate. I had obtained my real estate license and conveyed to you that I wanted to continue on the path of being an investor, owning short-term rentals and things like that. So we wanted something, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the way that I remember it, is we wanted something that was synergistic. So we want our companies to work in such a way where we can basically have them come together and help each other out.
Yes, absolutely. Things that work together, things that could grow separately, but also benefit each other.
That was how many years ago now?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. So let's talk about how it started, like what that whole process was like, for anyone who hasn't actually started a business of their own. A little bit of the logistics and what we had to go through to build up our systems and processes, and the documentation that you need for state and government and stuff like that.
So we quite admittedly did a lot of things backwards. Instead of analyzing the market, we just went, yep, this is what we're doing. We had gone through, I think, about 10 or 15 different business names, and our target was going to be the high-end, more affluent clientele. So that's the reason we went with luxurious cleaning services. And it just sounded better, had a better tone to it. But if I were to do things differently in today's world, and with everything that we know now, I would have done more market research and honed in more on a niche rather than just blanket residential, blanket commercial. We did a lot of our policies first. We did a lot of all of those things. Our employee handbook before we even had employees, which is all well and good because when you do get employees, it makes it a little bit easier, but we wasted a lot of time doing things that didn't have to be done before getting the clients in. But it's very, very simple to start up a business. Whatever state you're in, you search your business name that you want. If you can get it, you apply for it and go from there. Shortly thereafter, we got the EIN, opened up the business bank account, and started marketing. Our first client actually came from you.
What was that? I don't remember.
That was Josh and
Josh and Robbie's mom had a rental that she needed cleaned up, or a house that she was selling.
The house she was selling.
Right. It was previously a rental. That's right. I remember now.
Yeah.
So you search the name on the state secretary website.
Yes.
And then you apply for an EIN with the IRS, correct?
Correct.
So one of the things that I've learned along the way is I don't ever want to do that again. I prefer to have anonymity. Mm-hmm. So there are companies out there. The one that I like the best is Prime Corporate Services. So they'll set up your entity for you with a registered agent. So our names aren't on the state secretary's website. It helps with disgruntled clients if we ever have them, which hasn't been an issue thus far. And if there's any litigation or anything like that, it becomes a lot more difficult for the attorneys to figure out what actually all you own. So it may not even come to litigation because sometimes an attorney might go to look and see what kind of assets you have, realize there's no meat on the bone for them, and then tell their client, like, hey, we're not even going to bother with us. They don't have anything for you to take. Mm-hmm. It's when they start looking into you and they see, oh, this guy's got, 100 doors, he's got all these houses and all these businesses all in his name. He's ripe for the picking. So I learned that after the fact, but yeah, there was a lot of lessons in this business thus far.
Had a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
It is definitely a great learning opportunity for the both of us. I know that neither one of us want to start another business and build it up from nothing. Mm-hmm. We'd rather acquire businesses and either work them into what we currently own or have it be its own entity.
So we actually changed markets. You didn't talk about that.
We did. About 2 years ago, we decided that we were going to take a leap of faith, and we both quit our W-2 jobs. Jonathan was in law enforcement at that time, and I was still working at the college. We took a leap of faith. We packed up our belongings and we drove to Charlotte, North Carolina, where we had a Airbnb that we were renting for a month. And while we were there at the Airbnb for a month, we started switching everything over to the Charlotte market. In that time, we've built a decent amount of clients in the area. We're still in our infant stage here in North Carolina, but we are getting more recognition. We've tried every marketing tactic
Just about.
known to man.
We didn't do carrier pigeons yet.
No, we haven't done carrier pigeons. Note to self, find carrier pigeons. The cute little things in their feet, and the tubes. Anyhow, we've done billboards, we've done direct mail marketing, we've done emails, we've had door knocking, phone calls, all the above. But the one that's done the best is the one that we've spent the least amount of money on. And it's the logo on the back of my personal vehicle.
Never would have thought.
No.
So we did do some market research before we moved here. However, I wouldn't say it was really extensive enough because we found some things out when we moved here and started doing the business here that we didn't expect. We just figured there is a gigantic population here. We have the affluent community and people that would be our, preferred clientele. But what were some of the pitfalls that we found?
So what we didn't realize we were going to come into was a lot of the, how shall I say, non-registered cleaners. The individuals who are out cleaning houses, upwards of, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square foot houses for under $100 a clean. In order for us to combat against that, we did what we could to stand out. We are fully insured. We do background check, drug tests, and we even put all of our cleaners through certification courses. That was one of the biggest pitfalls. So in our minds, yeah, sure, there's other cleaning companies. There's more than enough houses and clientele and businesses to go around, being that you can fit all of New Hampshire in Charlotte alone. But I don't think we really grasped of how difficult it would be to get our name out there in such a overpopulated community.
Yeah. I think the other thing too with this particular community is, and it's not everybody, but the majority of people want it done all three things. They want it done cheap, they want it done well, and they want it done fast. And you can only ever get one or two of those things. You can't get all three, and
Exactly.
People just don't realize that. So they'll end up going with the cheapest, and then they get upset because it's not done quality.
Yeah. We've all seen the memes. I found a client who does it cheaper, and then it's got the Picasso above it, and then it's got the 2-year-old drawing of the horse below it. That's real life. I don't know how many times I've walked into a client's house and they're like, yeah, I just had a cleaner here last week.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember one that we actually did together. That was quite horrendous. I won't mention any names or where that particular lead came from.
Mm-hmm.
But this particular person told us that they had somebody on the regular basis who was cleaning for them. And just a picture like this, I would take one of our cleaning rags up the top of it and have a whole big clump like this of dust that was sitting on top of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, did you really? Or
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Yeah. Or when you're walking into a brand new build and you see a bottle of bleach in a brand new marble shower. That's a fun one.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing with our certifications that we put everybody through and we wanted to do things that made us a cut above the rest.
Yes.
So our certification process tells everybody that works with us what particular chemicals are safe on which surfaces, right?
Yes. Yep. which chemicals to use. And by I use the word chemicals very loosely. We don't solutions.
That's right.
Yes, cleaning solutions. The different types of tools to use, the brushes, how soft or hard the bristles should be. Everything down to the minute detail of the type of wood and how to clean that wood.
Yeah. So what a lot of people don't realize, that now the people that work for us realize, is that you could have a very expensive marble countertop, or the bathroom, the shower, like you were talking about. And if you use the wrong solution there, you could ruin that piece of stone completely. And now you're talking, if it's a $10,000 countertop, which some of them very well could be.
Absolutely.
If you hired somebody who is fly by night and they have no insurance, now who's on the hook for that? How does that get replaced?
The homeowner typically has to swallow it or take the cleaner that they had to court.
Yeah,
But good luck getting anything out of them most of the time.
exactly, because those cleaners likely don't have anything to give them.
Yeah, and typically if you're replacing, say, a marble shower or a marble floor, you don't just replace that one tile. The whole thing has to get ripped up. So,
Interesting. So let's talk some more about the inner workings of our company, things that we found that worked and didn't work, how we're doing employees now.
yeah, so things of how they worked. We've tested out many different cleaning solutions. We've finally found our products that we really enjoy and that our clients enjoy. But even as of recently, as of 2 weeks ago, I found a new product that was recommended by a client specifically for marble. And I've come to love that product. And now we use it on a daily basis. So a lot of trial and error. For a while, we were steam cleaning floors. And then that became a very arduous problem for us. So we stepped away from that. Employees, that's the hardest part.
It has been very difficult.
That is honestly the hardest part. We have spent countless hours going through, and this is not by any means a over-exaggeration, upwards of 5,000 employee resumes.
Yeah. So for our sales position.
For just our sales.
Yeah.
Not even including the cleaning technicians.
Yeah.
That has by far been the hardest. Finding people who are willing to do the hard work and understand that, we're not the cleaning company where you go in and you just vacuum and dust the countertops. We are a lot more detailed than that. Our standard clean is a average deep clean for most. But as for employees, we do have W-2 employees currently, but we are beginning to kind of put our pride and control issues aside to be, completely open with that. We always wanted to stay W-2 because we wanted to have that control over exactly, what our cleaning technicians used for products, the hours that they worked, the locations that they would serve in, and right down to wearing our logo. But we've come to the realization that in order for us to grow to the point that we want to grow, we have to have separate teams throughout our service areas in North Carolina, be 1099 independent contractors. This gives us a little more freedom and a little bit more of ability for me to stop working in the business and start working on the business.
Yeah. So we'll probably use like a hybrid model going forward, is have some W-2 and some 1099.
Yes. Yeah.
And the other part is as well as like the margins, right? So if we want to pay people a living wage as a W-2 employee, like it becomes very difficult for us to have much of a margin in our business. Is like when we start looking at the numbers, is what we found is we're paying for the insurance, we're paying for the cleaning products, we're paying for the uniforms, and we're paying a very good wage for a cleaner, because otherwise, we're not going to have quality help. And we got to be a bit better than Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, obviously, or else they're not going to work for us. Or we're just going to get people that, come in and milk the clock. And that's another thing too with 1099 is we can pay them by the job, right, instead of by the hour.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Pay percentage per clean. So.
Yep. The other thing about bringing in clients, so the back of your car, the logo has definitely been huge. We need to get that on more vehicles. The second best thing I think for us has been the local service ads. So we've tried many different advertising avenues online, from Facebook ads to Google ads, sponsored ads, and stuff like that. But I think, and maybe I'm wrong, what do you think, that the Google local service ads, even though there are a lot of spam things that come through and it's not perfect, I think that's probably the second best.
Yeah, I would say it's a very close race between the Google local service ads and finding and posting and responding to individuals in Facebook groups.
Oh, that has gotten us a few too, hasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So finding those people who have the need, instead of trying to reach out to the people who don't know if they have the need or want the need. Someone who's actively looking, and we are right there on the ball saying, hey, this is who we are, this is our company, this is what we can do for you. And another thing that sets us apart is our online booking system. So our online booking system has every feature you could ever want on it, and our clients are able to go into their own separate portal, and they can change and add and take away whatever type of services they want, whether it be add-on services or they want a deep clean, routine, any of those things. But with that being said, our booking platform, all of our prices are transparent. So anyone can go on there, they type in their zip code, their location, their home address, type in their square footage, what it is that they're looking for, and it automatically populates a adequate quote. So it's not it could be between, $200 and $400. It gives an exact amount of what it will be.
And we have in our agreements that if it is something that's above and beyond, like if we walk into some house that had a crazy like rager party in it, or if it's a hoarder home or something like that, we have the right to either adjust that, and if they agree, of course, or to decline that. But thus far in the 3 years that we've been doing this, have we had an issue with that?
We have only walked away to one house.
One house.
Yes. But it wasn't a full agreed upon booking. It was come and view it. This is what we're looking for. And the client was not 100% honest on the phone with what it is that they were looking for and the condition of their home. So we've only walked away from one. So
I think that's pretty good odds. I mean,
yeah.
That was one of the things that we were worried about at first with doing this, because we initially talked about doing free estimates on every clean. Yes. And then we had that conversation back and forth of like, how much time are we actually going to be wasting going into every home? And maybe we do win this client, maybe we don't.
Yep.
And it's just like gas and mileage and everything like that. So that's why we decided to go with this model. And I mean, of course, there are people out there that are honest, but this is proven that there is still some faith to be had left in humanity.
Yep.
And, most people are decent people and are honest about things.
Yep.
So it's worked out.
It absolutely has. Absolutely has. I don't think we've had to ever, yes, we've had to call people up and say, hey, we did our due diligence and we looked into the property and, you put in 1,500 square foot, but your home is actually 2,500 square foot. And then we get into the conversation and they're like, hey, thank you for calling. Absolutely. I don't want my finished basement done. That's the other 1,000 square foot. So having that open communication between our clients is huge.
Yeah. And we do have a note box for them to leave that sort of thing in there, but nobody does it, unfortunately. So we do have to reach out.
Nobody does that.
Yeah. That gives a pretty good picture of where we've come from to like where we are now. What do you think our future looks like for this company?
So our future is, since getting to Charlotte, we also didn't mention that we moved from Charlotte out to a little more of central western North Carolina. So we are slowly moving our way through North Carolina to the western side. And as we do that, we are building and growing within each of those communities. That's one of the main reasons for the 1099. Mm-hmm. So that way we can have, like I said, teams in each of these locations. I think in the future, the biggest thing is which we are almost there, getting me out of going to all the cleans, building up our clientele base with both residential and more commercial, branching throughout the state of North Carolina, and then setting a operator in place to handle everything. That way, I can start focusing on more of my passions rather than working what some days feels like a job.
What would those passions be?
Creative things, homemade soaps, mineral sprays, and getting more into real estate. Everyone who's watching this think I'm going to say that because Jonathan's in real estate. But I've always had a desire to do fix and flips, which Jonathan disagrees with. He doesn't 100% believe that's the greatest avenue to go in today's market. But it's something I've always wanted to do because I like the creative side of, ripping things down to the bare bones and building it back up to something beautiful. So that's what I want to do. But in the meantime, continue on with the cleaning business, hopefully get my feet wet in transaction coordinating for real estate, and then start investing and flipping and buying and holding land.
So I don't think that flipping is necessarily a bad thing in this market. You just need to be super conservative about your numbers.
Yeah.
So you need to buy at like 50 cents on the dollar to make sure that there's enough spread, enough wiggle room in case, the market shifts. Or for anything for that matter. It could be materials, it could be interest rates, it could be, another COVID situation. Anything could happen, and, now all of a sudden you think you're going to exit from this and have your flip, have someone buy it, put it on the market, whatever you have, and you think that's going to happen within 6 months. Well, now, if something unforeseen happens, it could be 12 months or, whatever.
Yeah. Or you have a nightmare GC.
Yeah, and right.
I knew that would elicit that response.
Oh, my God. Well, unfortunately, we can't talk too much about that because there are certain contracts and legal obligations that I have that I can't say anything about that. Yes, but we know what nightmare GCs are like, as a lot of fix and flippers do.
Yep.
So yeah, but your holding costs and everything could eat up all profits that you intended to make if you don't buy right. So that's
When you just turn it into a short-term rental.
well, yeah, you should have multiple exit strategies. So if it's not going to go, then you should have another avenue to go with. And that's actually a great point, is, go with something else, like a short-term rental, or even a mid-term rental, or if it still cash flows, which hopefully it does, a long-term rental.
Yep.
But if you go more short-term, then, you have a little bit of flexibility to, if the market turns and shifts the other way, now you don't have a lease in place for a year and you can put it back on the market faster.
Yep. I think, honestly, it's one of our strongest suits, both as individuals and together, is whenever something comes up, we're like, well, quick pivot. And, the determination and the inability to just kind of turn a blind eye and give up. It's just not in our bones.
I almost kind of wish that people could, be a fly on the wall for some of the days that we've been through. Like our trip down to Florida to sailing.
Yeah.
You just think the world is ending, and it's like, no, let's just stop and breathe for a second. What's the solution?
Yep.
We just need to pivot. We know we can get through this. Yes, there's a roadblock, a problem before us. Yes, it sucks. And it's happened so many times, but there's a solution to the problem.
Yep. Whether it's foreseen or unforeseen, it's yeah. And that's exactly why we both have that entrepreneurial mindset. I know me personally, sorry to any family who's watching this, but the truth hurts. I came from a family who were all takers and not givers. And I knew at a very, very young age that I didn't want to be that. I wanted to set my own path. I wanted to set my own ways. And I've done well at it, but I am nowhere near where I want to be, and where I do foresee myself in the future.
Well, the more you make, the more you can give.
Yep, exactly.
So what are your goals for giving, then?
My goals for giving?
You know what mine is.
I do know what yours are. The Shriners Hospital for Children. I haven't found yet that one thing that I want to give to. And I know people will scream and say, you're a cancer survivor, give to Susan Komen or any of the cancer organizations. The problem with that is I haven't yet found the organization where the actual money that you give goes to the studies, goes to the researches, goes to the individuals who are affected by. I know that there's something out there. I don't necessarily have the want or the desire to donate to anything cancer related. I think for me, it's probably going to be building a women's shelter, or something for kids who are in the system.
That makes sense. And I don't blame you whatsoever with the thing on cancer, because there have been, rumors, conspiracies, or whatever you want to call them, that the cure has been found 10 times over.
Yep.
And that it gets buried.
Yep.
Because it's more profitable for these pharmaceutical companies to keep treating it the way that they are.
Yeah, well, think about it. The drug that they wanted to have me on for 10 years, once I was clear of cancer, it was $18,000 a month. Not $1,800, $18,000 a month. No, thank you.
Yeah, for just like this minute, small chance.
This tiny little, I think it was a 1% betterage chance of remission. But it made me feel like I was in chemo every single day.
Yeah.
So no, thank you. I'll live my life.
So for anybody who is maybe thinking about starting a business, what would be your advice if they were sitting here with you now? If they should start, when they should start, and how to start?
So the if and when, that is definitely on a own personal level. No one, there's never that perfect time, that perfect season, that perfect place. It doesn't exist. And if somebody tells you it does, they're lying to you. But my biggest piece of advice is find someone who is doing the things that you want to do. Find someone who embodies the person that you want to be and learn from them. Don't copycat them, but learn from them and take what they've done and what you want to do and work it into your own thing.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. It's been difficult for me, to be honest. I crave to have that kind of a mentor, but I feel like I've mostly been a lone wolf without any kind of a mentor. I don't know. I guess part of it's probably a limiting belief. Like, why would they want to waste their time with me? And also, I'm not sure I really know who that person is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely do wish that we had more people like you're talking about, that we could keep us accountable and kind of steer us in the right direction.
Find our tribes, and you and Justin Brown had touched based on that. Of he waited 2.5 years for that individual to come back to him. And it's finding your tribe and building that cohesive community of support together. And it's really, really hard because a lot of times people who have the same characteristics and the same drive, they clash. And it's hard to work through that sometimes. But finding someone who's doing the things you want to do and just talk and be patient and have the time and belief in yourself. That is by far the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think 2 or more alphas in one room can definitely clash for sure. I think it gets better though with emotional intelligence. I think with emotional intelligence, that we can learn why we're having that clash and, work through it. And ultimately, like the picture that I have in my office studio, even if I am clashing, like I need to, because I desire to also lift people up. So unless it's something egregious and it's like just, way out of alignment, then I can work through those little clashes. And we talk about things all the time, different people and stuff, like little nuanced things. And it's like, yeah, there might be that little thing that I'm kind of clashing on, but I'm not ending that particular relationship because of this little thing.
Right.
And if it's also something that it needs to be brought to light, like I'll have a conversation about it. And obviously you need to be careful about how you have your conversation, but if you can do it in a way that's coming from the heart with a helping heart,
Yes.
I think that makes all the difference.
Yeah. Hard conversations are a part of life. And it's all about how you approach them. And I know both you and I have not had the emotional intelligence that we do currently have. When we were young, we used to fly off the handle very, very easily. And, you grow, you develop, you find your people. And even if you clash or you have differing, opinions on anything, it's okay. You can still work together. You just got to find that common ground and that mutual respect.
Even political opinions.
Even political opinions. Perfectly okay to have different political opinions and still be able to be in the same room together.
Yeah.
And cordial and work together. It's amazing.
So we've been talking for a while now. One of the things that I always like to ask is, and what has inspired you? So different people, they could be famous or not. And then I also want to know about what kind of books that you've read that have inspired you, mainly in the entrepreneurial space. I know that you've read a lot of different books that don't necessarily pertain. I would say that Jordan Peterson kind of does, but
He floats on the line somewhere. Like he delves more into the psychological basis of it and who we are internally. But a lot of that does equate to the entrepreneurial mind. But we'll go back to the first question of inspiration. Obviously, first and foremost was when I became a mother 13 years ago today. To be the type of person that my son could be proud of and say, that's my mom, this is what she went through, this is what she did. You have been a huge influence in my life. And honestly, there is not one single quote unquote famous person that I've ever looked up to. I believe they're false idols, and there has not been one that has, in my opinion, stuck true to their form. Books. You've already talked about my favorite.
it's okay. Talk more about it.
Yeah. So Laws of Success. That is definitely the favorite for the entrepreneurial.
By Napoleon Hill.
By Napoleon Hill. There was another one. What is the name of it? I want to say it was called Be Your Business. I do not remember the author. And another one was Your Next 5 Steps. Again, do not remember the name of the author. But Your Next 5 Steps was a great breakdown for knowing the starting points and always being ahead of the game. So instead of thinking of, well, what's my next step? It's what are my next 5 steps and how do I complete each one to make the next one successful?
It's like playing chess.
Exactly. They allude to that quite often in that book.
Yeah, because in chess, you better know more than just your next move. You need to think way ahead of how all the pieces are going to come.
And know their next move as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now we'll switch the tables and ask Jonathan where he sees our professional development going.
Well, you had mentioned, obviously, getting an operator in place for the cleaning company. I still have a small hand in the cleaning company, and I work on some of the back end stuff and whatnot, and the website. So if we have an operator in place, getting you into the things that are your passions. So I like things that are synergistic, like we had also talked about, and where you want to do fix and flip stuff. And I really see you talking about more of the creative design aspects of it, not the minutia of the acquisitions process or dispositions process. I think that maybe once we get to that point, we look at acquiring something that's already in existence to handle that arm of the business. And basically a interior design. I see you being interested in that portion of it. So I think that we acquire a company that is selling, that already has a customer base in place and has their brand and systems and processes, instead of building something from scratch. And that become your next baby. Because that can fit in with the rest of the real estate stuff and acquisitions, and we can keep some and we can flip some.
That certainly works.
Other questions you got for me?
So who's been your biggest influence?
With my passion for real estate, and business, there have been several people that I would say have probably touched upon me in an influential kind of way. But again, I don't have any like big idols just like you. You may think that I have one or two that are, particularly more prevalent than others, and I would agree with that. But nobody that I would say is like, so amazing that I think that they could do no harm. So I could probably, the biggest one as of late has been Pace Morby. I wouldn't know what I know now about creative finance if it wasn't for him. But then, of course, there's Napoleon Hill, there's Robert Kiyosaki, more for business, and one of the businesses that we still both have a passion for potentially doing in the future is gyms. So Bedros Keuilian, who is the owner of Fit Body Boot Camp, and he is actually a big donor to the Shriners Hospital as well. So we have some similarities.
Cody Sanchez.
Yeah, so buying businesses is definitely, she's been influential in that. I've learned a lot from her. But Pace as well. So Pace talks about buying businesses as well. And Carlotta talks about buying businesses as well.
Yep.
So we've learned quite a bit from several different places.
Right.
And then it's just, getting all the knowledge that we can from all these different places and then aggregating it all and implementing it. So, and that's what I strive to do all the time. That's why we have the bookshelf that we have.
And need another bookshelf because it's getting full.
Yeah.
Or is full. We're getting full. It is full.
We get a little bit more space in there.
For maybe like a pamphlet. That's about it.
So that bottom shelf there's some binders in there that I put together, and sure, there's still good information in there. So
you got the bigger pockets, real estate stuff there.
Yep.
I've got my I Love Me binder in there from the military. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there.
So a couple of those bigger pockets binders, I think I can probably get rid of.
Probably old news by now.
Yeah, so it's still some relevant information about like screening tenants and stuff like that I could look back upon. But at this point, it's mainly so deeply seated in my head that I know most of it anyways. It would just be like tiny little nuanced things that maybe I lapsed on.
But even still, with that being said, like laws changed. So the information that's in there could very well be updated.
Most of it's generalized though. It's because it's talking about the entire country. So laws are going to be different in every state. And we have some states, as you know, that are more landlord friendly than others.
Yes.
And thankfully we're living in one of those states right now that is a little bit more landlord friendly and not tenant friendly.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we could probably, I got a couple books that I haven't read yet, but after those ones are read, I think there's a little bit more space before we have to buy another bookcase. So before we start buying more books.
I was going to say, we both have a lot of books that we still want to acquire. I just added 2 more to my list.
So I want to go back, and it just came to me now, to when I asked you about what advice you would give to somebody new. So the biggest thing, and you were saying that there's no great time, like it's never a perfect time, just like it's never a perfect time necessarily to have a kid.
Right.
So my thing is like, try to think of, and I know that this sounds morbid, but what would you think and feel if you were on your deathbed and didn't do the thing?
There's a famous quote about that, is that when you are lying on your deathbed and your dreams and your goals are all standing surrounding your deathbed, and now every single one of those dreams and goals is now dying with you unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just don't want to leave this world with any regrets. Like, I wanted to do this thing. It was a passion, and I didn't do it because I didn't have enough money and I needed to work a W-2. And I had to sleep 10 hours a night, and you know what I mean? Like, all these different things that are just not actual.
They're fear-based excuses.
Right. They're excuses.
Yep.
So if you want something bad enough, I think you'll find a way.
Yep.
It's just like a lot of those people that, you know, maybe they were really hard on their luck and didn't have enough money to eat that night. Well, they were hungry enough, so they found a way.
Yep.
So whether it was panhandling or whatever have you, like, there was a way and they made it happen.
Yep.
So if you really want it so bad, and like many of those famous people out there that have speeches and podcasts that we listen to, like, they all say, if you want it as bad as you want to breathe,
Yep.
you'll make it happen.
Exactly.
So
Follow me out to the water and keep on going.
Mm-hmm. So that's basically what I would say to anyone new, is like, if you really want to do it, do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the other big questions everyone asks is, well, should I quit my job and go right into this? And that's a hard one.
That is a difficult one because, I mean, as you know, I stayed working my W-2 job when we started the cleaning company, and I was pulling a lot of double shifts. So I was working 16 hours at the school, and then going home, showering real quick, or changing at work into my uniform and then going to a clean. Come home, sleep for an hour or two, and then I was right back out to it. Did it suck? Yes, absolutely. But was it a way to help grow us and help build us? Yes. Also with that is, a lot of people think that the whole reason that they won't start a business and they won't take that leap of faith in themselves is because they're afraid, well, what if I don't have enough income? What if I don't have enough money coming in? You know, all these fear-based things, and they think that they have to devote every single second of their life into building the business, and it fails. And it fails because they quit their W-2 job and jumped straight into business and went for the Hail Mary without getting the clientele, or without getting the sales, or without getting anything put in place first. So now they have no choice but to resort back to working W-2, because they have their family to feed. They have to keep the lights on. So by taking your W-2 income and using that to generate and acquire business within now your own business, it takes that fear, and that it doesn't remove the failure, but it helps mitigate it.
So one thing that I would definitely suggest is, if you've never done any business, start one, like we did.
Yep.
So we talked about acquiring businesses, but I think that needs to come after you've started something from the very ground.
Yes.
And you talked also about how important clientele is. So that's absolutely correct. It is like, you need to not do the, and I don't know how to say this with a PC way, but it's basically mental masturbation.
Yeah.
Is you do all these things and try to build up all the systems and processes before you even need them. So like you need the work and the money coming in first, and then build those things. So like you need a single pipeline from, a single road from client to payment.
Yes.
First. Don't build the road too wide. Yeah, it might help you when you have more of a pipeline coming through, but you don't yet. So like, don't worry about spending your time on all those things when you're not even there yet.
Right.
You just need to get started.
Yeah.
And I think that also, before I let you go into your next thing, is you're right as well in that you probably shouldn't quit your W-2 job right off the bat. Get a flow going, get things, going in the right direction until you've gotten to a point where you're either equal to or almost equal to a replacement of your current income, and then exit your W-2 and hit the gas.
Yep, absolutely. And that's a lot what's talked about in the book I'm currently reading, Fire Ready Aim. And I remember when that book first showed up on our doorstep, and I went, "This is backwards. I don't get this title. This is backwards." And that was done purposefully.
Okay.
Because a lot of business owners, they think, I need the business name, I need to get all my policies and processes in place, and I need, my logo, and I need my website and everything. I need all those things first. But none of that drives your business. None of that builds your business. It helps your business, yes, but it's your clients. Your clients are the only thing that feed your business.
You need a product or a service, and you need a client to get paid.
Yep. And that's the key, is a product, not products.
Yeah, so Henry Ford would probably kick us right in the teeth.
Oh, absolutely would. But different days.
Yeah.
Different days.
So you were talking about it with our booking platform, is we have probably way too many options for people.
Yep.
And it's sometimes a blessing and a curse. So, everyone is used to, at this point, being able to order their burger 101 different ways.
Yep.
And they're accustomed to having all these different options, so that's where it becomes a blessing, per se. But it's also a curse, because now they think they can, just pick one or two of these things and manipulate things so it becomes outside of our wheelhouse. And now they don't actually fit as a client for us, like the people that we have that, they just want their kitchen cleaned.
Yes.
They just want one bathroom cleaned. Well, it's not worth it to us to drive all the way to you and, spend the money in fuel and mileage and all those things for that small little amount that you would pay for that one thing. We're a full home cleaning service.
Yes.
It's the people that do that sort of thing are still out there, unfortunately, and they don't last. But the people that purchase those services don't realize that, as like those people are getting burnt out and their businesses are going under because there's not enough profit in it for them.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a female on Facebook the other day, and there was about 7 or 8 different cleaning businesses that all chimed in on this. This one female, she was working for a professional cleaning company and decided she was going to go off on her own and start her own thing. I think I told you about this. And she was doing a blanket clean, for $70. And completely blanket. Didn't matter the square footage, didn't matter if it was a routine, deep, had the condition of the home, pets, nothing. And I very respectfully reached out to her and I said, what you're doing, you're hurting yourself. And these are the reasons why. And a lot of other people chimed in and they're like, I got 100% burnt out within the first 3 weeks of starting my business because of that exact reason. And it's prevalent and people don't realize it. But on the other side of that, like, you can't charge too much until people know your value. So it's that balance cord.
Yeah. If we had some kind of a regulatory body out there, I think it would be good for the cleaning industry. Kind of like and they're not doing so hot right now, but the NAR for the real estate industry.
Yeah.
To help kind of regulate things a little bit. Like, I don't love regulation, but when we have one cleaner down here who is not certified or insured or anything like that, who is basically charging $70 for a clean that we would charge $600 for.
Right.
We have a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Because now the public perception is skewed in such a way that they're going to tell their friends, like, well, this is what I'm accustomed to, and maybe they did a great job.
Right.
But it's not sustainable.
Right.
So, and they don't know that. So now we have this unfortunate situation where a large majority of our client base is confused about what adequate pricing would be. So we got everyone fighting to the bottom, and although we're doing all right, like, we see the industry as a whole, and that's one of the issues that I definitely see going on in the industry.
It's definitely a problem, but that the regulation is a double-edged sword.
Oh, of course.
And we all know that. The more involvement in small businesses, the harder it is.
Well, I guess the way that I look at it is the old story about the light bulbs.
I can see that.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, there's a story about light bulb manufacturers. Basically, they all came together into a meeting room and talked to each other about how they could all profit, because there was infighting, them, everyone's trying to go to the bottom and give the lowest price so that they can win their customers for their product. And what they decided to do was instead all come together and have a minimum price that everyone would charge so that everyone would be able to make a profit.
Yeah.
So you can go above and beyond that. So if maybe you come up with a new tint to your light, or, maybe yours has a few, they didn't have LEDs back then, but maybe yours has a few LEDs in it or something like that. Well, now you can charge a little bit more, but never less.
Right.
And it's still a double-edged sword, but I think that it would definitely give the public a better perception, because I think that, unfortunately, a lot of the public don't see the hard manual labor that goes into the cleaning, and they think of it as a lesser than service, when really it's hard work and it's a very needed service.
Yeah.
So for people that have a lot going on, and you need to keep your house up to par to keep out germs and things like that. What do you think about that?
Not only that, it's a huge effect on your mental health. Huge effect. Mental health, productivity, and general health of the family. And especially if you have pets and children, like it's if you live in a cluttered home, you have a cluttered mind, is what the term is. And most people, I won't say all, I will say most people, when you walk into a freshly cleaned home, it's that release. You feel that release. You feel that the weight being taken off your shoulder. And I'm not just saying that as a business owner. I feel that walking into my own house. And I see that with our clients. We had one client, Mary, who, a little bit of an older woman, she lived by herself and she worked from home. but she did not enjoy cleaning. She didn't like doing it, so she didn't do it. She always found other things to do. The first time that we were in there, we went through, we cleaned, we left. She thanked us, and we went back 2 weeks later, and we then proceeded to have a 45-minute conversation with her before even starting our clean. 'Cause she was thanking us, and she said that she went in, she organized her whole entire office. She felt better. She started exercising because that load was taken off of her. Her mental health skyrocketed. It was a night and day difference of who this individual was. Your home is a reflection of your mind, of yourself.
Mm-hmm. And back to what you were saying too with productivity and delegation. Mm-hmm. So if you are a business owner or working from home, where is your time best spent? So is your time best spent doing the cleaning of your home, or could you make 10 times more money if you spent that same time that you were going to spend cleaning your home in that particular business that you're involved in? So for a lot of people, a lot of our clients that are business owners, if they spent that 3-4 hours in their own business instead of cleaning their home, they can make tens of thousands of dollars. And we don't charge tens of thousands of dollars. So obviously the margins make sense and for them to hire us to come in.
Yep. And family time.
Oh.
You know, building up that family back together. 'Cause we live in a world now where a lot of people don't eat dinner together anymore. You know, kids are going to their soccer games by themselves, their baseball games by themselves. The parents aren't going because the parents just simply do not have time to. They're working, they come home, they're making dinner, they're doing this, they're doing that. And then if you're on a business owner on top of that, it's even harder to find the time. So a cleaning service, I mean, you know,
Priceless.
it's priceless in every aspect of life.
That's great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can end it there.
All right then.
I appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
I appreciate you being my biggest supporter.
Always.
And I love you.
Love you too.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate you being here and showing your support. The videos that do get watched in their entirety get bumped up on the algorithm and helps get them pushed out to more people to grow the channel. If you learned anything in this episode, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and I reply to all the comments. If you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, or the surrounding areas, and you're looking for a commercial or residential cleaning company that's a cut above the rest, come visit our website at luxuriouscleaningservices.com. Like Sarah had mentioned, we make it super easy for people to book our services. Well, that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you on the next leg of the journey.